ಎಚ್ಚರವಿರಲಿ 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 ಕೋಟಿ ಕೋಟಿ ಲಾಟ್ರಿ ಬಂದಿದೆ ಅಂತಾರೆ, ಕೋಟಿ ಕೋಟಿ ಲಾಟ್ರಿ ಬಂದಿದೆ ಅಂತಾರೆ, ಹಾಗೆ ಇಮೇಲು SMS ಕಳಿಸ್ತಾರೆ, ಹಾಗೆ ಇಮೇಲು SMS ಕಳಿಸ್ತಾರೆ, ಯಾವ್ದೋ ಪಾಸ್ವರ್ಡ್ ಕೊಡಿ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಯಾವ್ದೋ ಪಾಸ್ವರ್ಡ್ ಕೊಡಿ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಕೊಟ್ರು ಕೆಟ್ರಿ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿ ಹಣ ಯಾರು ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಕೊಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಬಿಟ್ಟಿ ಹಣ ಯಾರು ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಕೊಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಎಚ್ಚರವಿರಲಿ ಎಚ್ಚರವಿರಲಿ ಎಚ್ಚರವಿರಲಿ. ತಿಳಿಯಿರಿ, ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿನ ಏಕೀಕೃತ ಲೋಕಪಾಲ ಯೋಜನೆಯಡಿ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಜಾಗೃತಿ ಅಭಿಯಾನದ ಭಾಗವಾಗಿ ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಎಚ್ಚರಿಸಲು ಈ ಸಂದೇಶವನ್ನು ಕೊಡಲಾಗಿದೆ. ನಾವು ಗ್ರಾಹಕರಲ್ಲಿ ಎಚ್ಚರವಿರಲಿ 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 ಎಚ್ಚರವಿರಲಿ. ನಿಮ್ಮ ಡೆಬಿಟ್ ಕಾರ್ಡು ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಕೊಡಬೇಡಿ, ಅದರ ಪಿನ್ನು ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಹೇಳಬೇಡಿ, OTP CVV ಪಿನ್ನುಗಳನ್ನು ಯಾರ್ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಹೇಳಬೇಡಿ. ಎಚ್ಚರವಿರಲಿ ಎಚ್ಚರವಿರಲಿ ಎಚ್ಚರವಿರಲಿ. ತಿಳಿಯಿರಿ, ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿನ ಏಕೀಕೃತ ಲೋಕಪಾಲ ಯೋಜನೆಯಡಿ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಜಾಗೃತಿ ಅಭಿಯಾನದ ಭಾಗವಾಗಿ ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಎಚ್ಚರಿಸಲು ಈ ಸಂದೇಶವನ್ನು ಕೊಡಲಾಗಿದೆ. ಎಚ್ಚರವಿರಲಿ 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 ಎಚ್ಚರವಿರಲಿ. KYC ಅಪ್ಡೇಟ್ ಮಾಡೋಕೆ ಲಿಂಕ್ ಕಳಿಸ್ತಾರೆ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕು ಖಾತೆ ಕ್ಲೋಸ್ ಆಗತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ನಂಬಬೇಡಿ. ಲೈಟ್ ಬಿಲ್ ಕಟ್ಟೋಕು ಲಿಂಕ್ ಕಳಿಸ್ತಾರೆ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಲೈಟೇ ಕಟ್ಟಾಗೋಗತ್ತಂತ ಹೆದರಿಸ್ತಾರೆ, ನಂಬಬೇಡಿ. ಲಿಂಕು ಒತ್ತಿ ಹಣ ಕಳಿಸಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಲಿಂಕು ಒತ್ತಿ ಹಣ ಕಳಿಸಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ನಂಬಬೇಡಿ, ಲಿಂಕು ಒತ್ತಬೇಡಿ. ಎಚ್ಚರವಿರಲಿ ಎಚ್ಚರವಿರಲಿ ಎಚ್ಚರವಿರಲಿ. ತಿಳಿಯಿರಿ, ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿನ ಏಕೀಕೃತ ಲೋಕಪಾಲ ಯೋಜನೆಯಡಿ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಜಾಗೃತಿ ಅಭಿಯಾನದ ಭಾಗವಾಗಿ ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಎಚ್ಚರಿಸಲೆಂದೇ ಈ ಸಂದೇಶವನ್ನು ಕೊಡಲಾಗಿದೆ. ಎಚ್ಚರವಿರಲಿ 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 ಎಚ್ಚರವಿರಲಿ. ಕಂಡೋರ್ ಮೊಬೈಲ್ ಚಾರ್ಜರ್ ಮೊಬೈಲ್ಗೆ ಹಾಕಬೇಡಿ, ಕಂಡೋರ್ ಮೊಬೈಲ್ ಚಾರ್ಜರ್ ಮೊಬೈಲ್ಗೆ ಹಾಕಬೇಡಿ, ಕಳ್ಳರು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹಣಕಾಸು ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಹೀರಿಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಕಳ್ಳರು ನಿಮ್ಮ ಹಣಕಾಸು ಮಾಹಿತಿ ಹೀರಿಕೊಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಎಚ್ಚರವಿರಲಿ 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 ಎಚ್ಚರವಿರಲಿ. ತಿಳಿಯಿರಿ, ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿನ ಏಕೀಕೃತ ಲೋಕಪಾಲ ಯೋಜನೆಯಡಿ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಜಾಗೃತಿ ಅಭಿಯಾನದ ಭಾಗವಾಗಿ ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಎಚ್ಚರಿಸಲು ಈ ಸಂದೇಶವನ್ನು ಕೊಡಲಾಗಿದೆ. ಎಚ್ಚರವಿರಲಿ 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 ಎಚ್ಚರವಿರಲಿ. ಕೋಟಿ ಕೋಟಿ ಲಾಟ್ರಿ ಬಂದಿದೆ ಅಂತಾರೆ, ಕೋಟಿ ಕೋಟಿ ಲಾಟ್ರಿ ಬಂದಿದೆ ಅಂತಾರೆ, ಹಾಗೆ ಇಮೇಲು SMS ಕಳಿಸ್ತಾರೆ, ಹಾಗೆ ಇಮೇಲು SMS ಕಳಿಸ್ತಾರೆ, ಯಾವ್ದೋ ಪಾಸ್ವರ್ಡ್ ಕೊಡಿ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ, ಯಾವ್ದೋ ಪಾಸ್ವರ್ಡ್ ಕೊಡಿ ಅಂತ ಕೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. ಕೊಟ್ರು ಕೆಟ್ರಿ ಬಿಟ್ಟಿ ಹಣ ಯಾರು ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಕೊಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಬಿಟ್ಟಿ ಹಣ ಯಾರು ಯಾರಿಗೂ ಕೊಡೋದಿಲ್ಲ, ಎಚ್ಚರವಿರಲಿ ಎಚ್ಚರವಿರಲಿ ಎಚ್ಚರವಿರಲಿ. ತಿಳಿಯಿರಿ, ರಿಸರ್ವ್ ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿನ ಏಕೀಕೃತ ಲೋಕಪಾಲ ಯೋಜನೆಯಡಿ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರೀಯ ಜಾಗೃತಿ ಅಭಿಯಾನದ ಭಾಗವಾಗಿ ನಿಮ್ಮನ್ನು ಎಚ್ಚರಿಸಲು ಈ ಸಂದೇಶವನ್ನು ಕೊಡಲಾಗಿದೆ.
Good evening, everyone. Akhil Bhartiya Grahak Panchayat Karnataka Prant have organized this session. I, Pavan Kulkarni, ABJP Prachar Prasar Pramukh, Bengaluru Mahanagara, and I am delighted to welcome you to the Grahak Jagran Paakshika 2024 online lecture series. Today's session focuses on a crucial topic, consumer awareness in the financial sector. As we navigate the complexities of financial world, it is imperative for us to be informed and vigilant consumers. This session aims to enhance our understanding and empower us with the knowledge to make some financial decisions. Thank you all for joining us today. Your presence is a testament to your commitment to consumer awareness and education. Let's start today's session with the Grahak Gite.
ಜಯ ಭಾರತ ಮಾನವೀಯತೆಯ ಉಷಾ ಕಿರಣವ ಬೆಳಗಲು ಬಂದೆವು ನಾವಿಂದು. ಶೋಷಿತ ಪೀಡಿತ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಜನರ ಭಾಗ್ಯ ರೂಪಿಸುವ ನಾವಿಂದು. ಶೋಷಿತ ಪೀಡಿತ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಜನರ ಭಾಗ್ಯ ರೂಪಿಸುವ ನಾವಿಂದು. ಜಯ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಜಯ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಜಯ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಶಕ್ತಿ. ಜಯ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಜಯ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಜಯ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಅನ್ಯರ ಪಾಲಿನ ಅನ್ನಮ ಕಸಿಯುವ ಪಾಪದ ಕಾರ್ಯವು ನಮದಲ್ಲ. ನಮ್ಮಯ ಹಕ್ಕನ್ನು ಪಡೆಯುವವರೆಗೆ ವಿಶ್ರಾಂತಿಯೆಂದು ನಮಗಿಲ್ಲ. ಎಲ್ಲರ ಹಿತವನ್ನು ಜೋಡಿಸಿ ನಲಿಯುವ ಅವಸರ ಬಂದಿದೆ ನಮಗಿಂದು. ಶೋಷಿತ ಪೀಡಿತ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಜನರ ಭಾಗ್ಯ ರೂಪಿಸುವ ನಾವಿಂದು. ಶೋಷಿತ ಪೀಡಿತ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಜನರ ಭಾಗ್ಯ ರೂಪಿಸುವ ನಾವಿಂದು. ಜಯ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಜಯ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಜಯ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಶಕ್ತಿ. ಜಯ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಜಯ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಜಯ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಅನ್ನ ಬಟ್ಟೆ ವಸತಿ ಶಿಕ್ಷಣ ನಮ್ಮ ಜೀವನಕ್ಕೆ ಆಧಾರ. ಕುಟುಂಬವೆಲ್ಲ ಸುಖಿಯಾದಾಗ ಶಾಂತಿ ಮುಕ್ತಿ ಸುಖ ಸಾರ. ನಕ್ಕು ನಲಿಯುತ್ತ ರಾಷ್ಟ್ರ ಕಾರ್ಯದಲ್ಲಿ ಬದ್ಧ ಕಟಿಗಳು ನಾವಿಂದು. ಶೋಷಿತ ಪೀಡಿತ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಜನರ ಭಾಗ್ಯ ರೂಪಿಸುವ ನಾವಿಂದು. ಶೋಷಿತ ಪೀಡಿತ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಜನರ ಭಾಗ್ಯ ರೂಪಿಸುವ ನಾವಿಂದು. ಜಯ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಜಯ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಜಯ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಶಕ್ತಿ. ಜಯ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಜಯ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಜಯ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಭಾರತ ಮಾತೆಯ ಸುಖ ಗೌರವವು ಪ್ರಾಣಕ್ಕಿಂತಲೂ ಪ್ರಿಯಬಹುದು. ಯುಗ ಯುಗದಿಂದಲೂ ಮಾನವ ಹಿತವೇ ಶಾಶ್ವತ ಧರ್ಮವು ನಮಗೆ ಅದು. ಜೀವನ ಶಕ್ತಿಯ ಅರ್ಪಣೆ ಮಾಡಲು ಸಜ್ಜಾಗಿ ನಾವು ಹೊರಟೆವು. ಶೋಷಿತ ಪೀಡಿತ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಜನರ ಭಾಗ್ಯ ರೂಪಿಸುವ ನಾವಿಂದು. ಶೋಷಿತ ಪೀಡಿತ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಜನರ ಭಾಗ್ಯ ರೂಪಿಸುವ ನಾವಿಂದು. ಜಯ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಜಯ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಜಯ ಗ್ರಾಹಕ ಶಕ್ತಿ. ಜಯ ಭಾರತ ಜಯ ಭಾರತ ಜಯ ಭಾರತ ಎನ್ನಿ. ಜಯ ಭಾರತ ಜಯ ಭಾರತ ಜಯ ಭಾರತ ಎನ್ನಿ. ಜಯ ಭಾರತ ಎನ್ನಿ. ಜಯ ಭಾರತ ಎನ್ನಿ.
Before proceeding with the session, there are few online meeting instructions for the participant. Be attentive. Please stay focused and attentive throughout the session to make the most of the discussion. Mute your audio and video. Kindly mute so that to minimize distraction and ensure a smooth flow of the meeting. We also request everyone to take the ABGP yearly membership of 100 rupees. Link will be shared in the chat box. Your support would be greatly appreciated. If you have any questions during the sessions, please type them in the chat box. We will address them during the designated Q&A session. Additional notes, please refrain from using the chat for unrelated discussions. Ensure a stable internet connection to avoid disruption. If you face any technical issues, please let us know. Now, I am pleased to invite Sri Lakshmi ji, our Prant Koshadhyaksha, to deliver the Swagat and Parichay.
Namaste to each and everyone. Good evening. Balu Kenchappa, sir, working for the Reserve Bank of India for the past 31 years. Presently, RBI Ombudsman for Karnataka for last 7 months. Before that, Regional Director for Uttar Pradesh. And he inspected 7 of the top 10 large banks in terms of market capitalization. He worked in Corporation Bank for about 6 years and in corporate sector for 1 year. And he internationally, he is the member for peer review committee for reviewing the financial system of the United Kingdom. He is a member in expert team to evaluate the Mauritius banking system constituted by the FSB. And he worked in a working group on national risk assessment on AML and terrorist financing in banking sector constituted by Ministry of Finance. He is in working group implementation issues in converging to IFRS in banks, prompt corrective action banks, and he is Fulbright scholar, and he published a book on infrastructure financing. He got PhD in risk management in infrastructure financing. He is a fellow member of the Institute of Cost and Management Accountant of India. He is a visiting professor at Indian Institute of Management, Kozhikode, for 4 years, taught 20 hours course on bank management, and moreover, he was born and grew up in my native place, Nanjangud. Thank you, Balu sir. I invite you to take over the session, and we had such more sessions in our Akhil Bhartiya Grahaka Panchayat, and got much more knowledge from you, and I wanted to continue to share your knowledge with us in today's session. Thank you, sir. Welcome.
ಎಲ್ಲರಿಗೂ ನಮಸ್ಕಾರ. I thought the medium of conversation is Kannada, but surprisingly
ಹೌದು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲೇ ಮಾತಾಡಬಹುದು.
ಇಲ್ಲ, ಅದು I've been away from Karnataka for almost 31 years, and then it's nice to come back to Bangalore and work here for the last part of my career in Reserve Bank. At the outset, I thank Akhil Bharat Grahak Panchayat Karnataka unit, especially Mrs. Nadig, Mr. Nadig, and Lakshmi. Lakshmi presently says that she is also from Nanjangud, my native, she said. I am from Nanjangud, born, brought up. As she said, I am presently working as banking ombudsman for Karnataka for last 7 months or so. And today's topic is on financial sector. It's indeed, it's my privilege to spend most part of my life in financial sector, banks and central bank, that's Reserve Bank of India. So today, rather in next week, 24th December, we are going to celebrate Consumer Rights Day. To celebrate the passage of Consumer Protection Act 1986. So in that context, this Paakshika, or this fortnight program, It is really much appreciated. ABGP's commitment is always there. I think this is my second time. Some 3-4 years back, also I addressed, sort of on the ABGP forum. It's my pleasure to always get connected with the ABGP and their activities. To begin my session, maybe I wish to speak to about 30 to 40 minutes or so. We have around 1 hour has been given. Maybe we'll spend some time on, some interaction and other thing. So to start with, I remember an incident in Hong Kong when I was inspecting some Indian bank. A senior citizen couple walked in, and then they had their local newspaper in their hand. And the local, the Indian private sector bank, which is working there, they seem to have offered half a percentage more than the Hong Kong interest rate for the fixed deposits. These aged couple meets the brand manager, and then they started asking him question: what is your Standard and Poor rating? What is your balance sheet size? How strong your bank is? And whether there is any problems in your bank in India? Many questions. Maybe she is a high net worth individual. They must be trying to keep a lot of deposits. But that bothered me a little, that people have to be asking so many questions before putting their hard-earned money in a bank. But in India, on the other hand, if any farmer or an individual or a middle class person, if he has some 10 lakh or 20 lakh retirement funds, he will simply look for the name bank. And perhaps he will look for the interest rates of a percent more or less kind of thing. They'll compare, and then they comfortably invest in the bank. So that taught me a lesson, that how strong we are in a way that the word bank generates some amount of trust. After all, the banking institution, financial sector institution for that matter, we call them as highly leveraged institution. That means for every rupee of their own capital, they will have something like 15 rupees to 20 rupees of borrowed funds. You and me, a general corporate, cannot visualize for every rupee of capital borrowing or creating debt of 15 to 20 times. That can happen only in banks. That is because of the trust the institution of banking enjoys. So all of us are, as a regulator, as a bankers, being responsible, and your government, state, central government, they all nurtured over a period of time. So that is to our credit, that we have a trustworthy institution of banking. But therefore, the trust depends on the customer. The customer is the king, we say. But then the trust of the customer is very, very important. We call that in Kannada ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ವಿಶ್ವಾಸ, ನಂಬಿಕೆ, ನಿಯತ್ತು. ಇದು ಬ್ಯಾಂಕಿನ ಒಂದು ಬುನಾದಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ತಪ್ಪಾಗಲಾರದು. So therefore, we have to ensure that there is a ವಿಶ್ವಾಸ, ನಂಬಿಕೆ, ನಿಯತ್ತು ಕಂಟಿನ್ಯೂಸ್ ಆಗಿದೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಈ ಕನ್ಸ್ಯೂಮರ್ ಪ್ರೊಟೆಕ್ಷನ್ issues are ಏನಿದೆ, that requires special mention, and it needs to be protected, and we go all out to ensure that the consumer is protected and there is a fairness, there is a fair practices are observed by the banking institution. And if you ask me, there are a couple of sectors which is closely regulated. Banking is one among them. If you look at the banks, for instance, if you want to start a bank, you need 500 crore as a beginning capital. You will not get a license so easily. There will be hundreds of background checks, hundreds of check about the governance, who are the people who are going to run the bank, how it's going to be managed. And year on year, the monitoring is there always, because it is an economic institution that runs the country. The economy depends on the banks. If you just get an idea, how much deposits are there with Indian scheduled commercial banks today? If I tell you the number, maybe it will be very difficult to imagine. It may be to the order of 220 lakh crore, 230 lakh crore. What is this 230 lakh crore is the deposits, and around 160 to 170 lakh crore is the advances, that is loans and advances that they have given. It's a massive. In terms of GDP, For instance, we say that the loan to GDP ratio is almost 60%, 60, 70%. In advanced countries, it may be 100, 150, 120. That it is highly, because we are in a way, the loan to GDP ratio is relatively low in India. There's a lot of potential is there. But whatever has happened so far, they are one of the very, very important economic activity they do. So therefore, it is in our interest that we protect and nurture them to ensure that there is a better ecosystem, there is a sanctity in the organizational prudence. So that is how we start with the discussion on the banking. And Reserve Bank, we are doing 90th year now. We are celebrating actually 90 years, RBI at 90. ಅಂತೇಳಿ ಸುಮಾರು ಕಾರ್ಯಕ್ರಮಗಳೆಲ್ಲ ಹಮ್ಮಿಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀವಿ. So the RBI has come a long way. In the process, they also brought in a very stable and strong banking system, though in between, often sometimes, the NPA spikes, non-performing assets, which is very concern for the bank's existence. So there are instances where bank failures, NBFC failures also witnessed, on our way. But the contribution of Reserve Bank as an institution, as I see it as an insider for the last 31 years, is phenomenal. I don't want to speak about the Reserve Bank's, achievements and other things. Let us straight away go to the customer protection or consumer awareness in the financial sector. So as we have liberalized, the banks are assumed center stage more importance because of their efficiency, because of their test of efficiency, so to say. They have been made autonomous. They have been given privatized. In 1969, we nationalized. Another round of nationalization happened in 80s. But again, we are unwinding now. In the last 20 years or so, the private sector have come to stay, like HDFC Bank, ICICI, Axis, S Bank. Variety of banks have come in, and they have commanded market share of more than 25% in the last 20 years. One thing that has happened is that more efficiency. Banks are profitable, with the return on shareholders, the depositors, the borrowers, all of them are beneficiary in this process. So in Reserve Bank, in so far as customer protection is concerned, you ask me, in the last maybe 60 years or so, we have evolved the consumer space or the customer service space. We have a circular, we call master circular on customer service. It runs into more than 70 pages. It's an accumulation of various regulation over a period of time. In fact, that is not comprehensive, in as much as there are varieties of regulation which has not been even consolidated because that belongs to different department, sometimes payment system, sometimes in foreign exchange, sometimes in mobile banking, varieties of or fintech for that matter. So therefore, there are a wide variety of regulations that have come in to protect the customers. In Reserve Bank, we call banks are special. For us, the day we joined, since that day, we have been told that this is a Vedavakya. Banks are special. Banks enjoy certain privileges which no other entity in the world enjoy. It is what I'm saying is not only true to India and every country. So therefore, Reserve Bank gives, at least in the last post-liberalization era, that how do we bring in increased attention or increasing care for the consumers, so that because they are the pillars of the success of a bank. So therefore, this 70-page customer service circular, what I'm referring to, is in a way our starting point for our initiative or our discussion or our protection. I'm not going to keep telling what are the things that are there in the customer service. It has a regulation which says that what is to be done for senior citizen, what is to be done for the visually handicapped, what is to be, how to do a doorstep banking in case of a person who is in coma. Or it also says that if he's in coma and he is neither signs nor he is aware, so how does he operate his bank account? There are provisions that are made which is evolved over a period of time. If you look at the housing loan, for instance, there are references to Supreme Court judgment where Supreme Court has come down heavily on certain banks because they did not comply with their own internal policy insofar as ensuring that the builders do not take the customers for a ride and make the bankers also partake in that, the unfriendly activities or unfair practices dealing with the consumers of the housing loan or house buying. So you will find all kinds of references in this mass circular. I'm not going to talk about duties and rights in detail, but the point is this, that as we bring in more and more freedom, as we bring the freedom is something that is essential to bring in competition, to bring in efficiency. But in the process of bringing freedom, there is a cost to pay. There is a cost. Either sometimes the customer pay the cost, or sometimes bankers themselves have to pay the cost. So therefore, the freedom which is always assured for the banking institution in the interest of the competition, so that it benefits the customer, sometimes there are distortion. That's where our organizations such as ABGP, if they are as active as they are, and there are many institutions which writes to Reserve Bank, which comes with a representation, which points out that this is the practice that is happening, something needs to be done. And such kind of feedback is taken the right spirit and taken to logical end. Reserve Bank is open always for such kind of feedback. And I was in regulation, I was in supervision in Bombay, almost 15 years I spent my life there. And I can very well say that every suggestion from the organizations such as ABGP or any trade bodies for that matter, who are interested groups, they always keep writing representation, that representation duly examined and policy responses are always made. So therefore, the consumer, the consumer associations such as ABGP, that is something which is very important role. And celebrating these kind of 15 days Paakshika is also worth, appreciable. So now I have made some points which I thought I'll just go through quickly. So, for instance, when I say as an ordinary customer, you and me, when you are in a bank, for instance, we have a very strong internal, we call this as a generally internal grievance redressal machinery. As I said, that the customer service circular talks about how banks have to bring in their internal grievance redressal machinery. What are the things that they have to put in place? Such as, there should be a principal nodal officers to interact. There should be state level nodal officers to interact with the RBI, and also is a link between the customers and the RBI. And there are customer service officers, then there are customer service department. And moreover, we also said that there should be a subcommittee of the board of the bank. That means the board of directors is the highest decision-making body. The Reserve Bank expects that every bank in India should have their own committee or subcommittee of the board. There, the discussion relating to the improvements in the customer service and deficiency wherever that is there, systemic or otherwise, such kind of discussions have to take place. So therefore, it goes up to the board level. And we also said that what are the things that board should discuss insofar as banking entities. Similarly, community banks, DCCBs, State Apex Bank, these are all the sort of things that Reserve Bank monitors and extend their oversight, and then in the interest of the depositors and the customers. So therefore, these customer service circular or the regulation, which has an internal grievance redressal machinery, that also been reviewed from time to time, how effective they are. And based on the number of complaints, based on the type of complaint, based on the systemic issues that the complaints, that bring in, always we keep telling within ourselves that a complaint is not a complaint, just not an individual deficiency. It could be what we call a harbinger. It could be a harbinger of a big problem that could be there in the system of the banks. So therefore, such kind of escalation also important. So therefore, in case if the Reserve Bank do not notice the systemic problem, there are always our stakeholders, that is associations, individual bodies, customers individually. They also write to the highest decision makers in Reserve Bank. It's not exception or anything. We always used to get complaint directly written to governor and other things. Though there are different levels, the grievance redressal machinery operates within Reserve Bank. So internal grievance redressal is something that we always ensure. So therefore, whenever we as a banking ombudsman, we attend to the individual grievances of the customer, we always say that they should always go to the bank or the NBFC or the cooperative banks first, and then they should give a complaint and then wait for 30 days. And if they don't receive any response 30 days, then they can come to Reserve Bank or to the banking ombudsman. Or if they get a reply, but they are not satisfied with the reply, then also immediately they can come. They need not wait for 30 days. That's a fundamental building block of ombudsmen who operate attending to the individual grievance redressal of the bank customers. And mind you, it is not only in India. These kind of grievance redressal banking ombudsman, parallel type of associations of the structure is there. It is there in UK. It is there in France. It is in every country. You name it. There is one or the other grievance redressal operators that takes care of the financial sector. When I say financial sector, please do not think that it is only banks. But though Reserve Bank has a mandate under the law to operate and take care of the credit institutions, primarily banks, NBFCs, and cooperative banks, we also have a strong payment systems. When I say payment system, you see all these things. That is, you can see UPI to NEFT to RTGS to check, and all check clearance, everything comes under the payment system. You have a strong law. Parliament has endowed RBI with the responsibility to protect the payment system. That is one of the important challenge that Reserve Bank always keep in mind, that how do we improvise the payment system? How do we bring in efficiency, innovation? And that is the result of, we proudly say that, globally, whatever the digital transaction that takes place, 50% of the global digital transactions happens in India. Just to give some kind of articulation on this, only last month or November or October, I think, NPCI said that they have done something like 14 billion transaction in a month. 14 billion means 1,400 crore. 1,400 crore digital transaction have happened in India in a month. So if 4,400 crore digital transaction, I'm not talking about the amount. I'm talking about the number of transactions. It may be 5 rupees, it may be 500 rupees, it may be 5 lakh rupees. So such transaction is happening, which amounts to 50% of the global transaction. I was just one day curious, and then I took a calculator and started dividing. What could be the per second? Per second, how many transactions happens in India? Given a situation that we are operating at around 18 hours actively, or 16 to 18 hours, 8 hours or 6 hours, you can leave it aside. So it runs to somewhere around 10,000 to 11,000 transactions per second. 10,000 transaction per second. That means if you do a UPI and you try to pay the, let's say T-boy on the platform, and there is a snag in the UPI and it's not going, 10 rupees. Then that boy will not leave you, and you cannot catch the train because the train start moving. So we are talking about even in seconds. How many seconds the UPI transaction should be completed? Otherwise, when it should be reversed automatically. For instance, ATM. ATM, we have said that there should be a specified number of seconds within which the cash should be delivered. If it is not delivered, if it delivers after 1 minute or 2 minutes and the customer waits and go, and then bank will be held responsible. So there such kind of benchmarks also have been set. So which is protecting the system? When I say digital transaction, one should one often rather every day you open the newspaper and you see a senior citizen is duped by 1 crore, 10 lakh, 5 lakh, 70,000. Why? Well, be different amount. Sometimes we as a consumers sometimes wonder what is happening. This issue was also raised recently in one of the monetary policy committee. The question was raised to the governor, and the deputy governor responded. I still remember. The rate at which the number of transactions are growing, and the rate at which the disputed transaction, I would not call fraudulent transaction, because I call disputed transaction, simply because there is no fraud involved. There is no fraud involved. There is no systemic problem. There is no cyber. We use the word cyber somewhat very freely without appreciating what the cyber security means. Cyber frauds we call. Cyber is not in sharing the individual OTP. Cyber is not just you click on a link and then you go and give away your credit card and CVV number. That is not simply called in a way cyber. Cyber has a very serious ramification which attacks the systems, which attack the banking system, which attack the core banking system of the banks and steal data. Large number of data is stolen and sold. That data, that is credit card number, CVV number, and PIN number. All those things are possible to be stolen, and then you can operate. But unfortunately, the situation is such that these kind of the people who are taking the innocent people for a ride is on the rise, especially digital arrest. Our Honorable Pradhan Mantri ji also has mentioned in one of his Mann Ki Baat that he has alerted the general public, that be careful. Stop, think, and then take action. You don't have to afraid of. You not to hesitate. People need to call up the police and then ask such kind of those who threaten people with the digital arrest and manage to keep the people on digital arrest. So therefore, the several initiatives, projects are on the line to ensure that these digital transactions are done on a very safe and secure manner. However, these awareness camps, bringing the innocent people or gullible people, senior citizens, students, and the homemakers, to alert, that is something that is all our responsibility, society's responsibility. These awareness should come. Let us not forget that the convenience of ordering a Swiggy through a click of a button, convenience of making a payment for a chai, 8 rupees, 12 rupees, 50 paise, whatever, and bringing down the cash usage is an achievement we are proud of. It is easy to control the frauds, or rather not fraud, disputed transaction, that people taking for a ride by when I say increasing the controls. For instance, one thing people sometimes go and ask us, that why don't you put some cooling period? The fraudsters or the fellows who cheat people, one of the advantages is that the money can be moved immediately. Why do you allow them to move money immediately on registration or on stealing the OTP? Let there be a cooling period. For instance, if you want to remit more than 1 lakh rupees, you cannot use UPI. You have to make a pay-as registration for NEFT or IMPS. For that, you may say that don't allow 30 minutes. You make them wait for 1 day. Some of the banks, if you register a payee, you have to wait for 24 hours. After that only you can make any remittance. Do you want that? Do we want that? For a UPI transaction of 10 rupees or 50 rupees, am I supposed to wait, or 100 rupees? In fact, in UPI transaction, there is 1 lakh rupees per day limit is there, per registered mobile number, per bank. They cannot make more than 1 lakh remittance per day. Even there also, the active consumers are saying that why don't you increase, or at least increase for the educational institution, medical reason, hospitals. If I have to make payment for hospitals, I don't have credit card or debit card, I don't know internet banking, but I want to pay through UPI, scanning the QR code. So there, the Reserve Bank has given exemption for educational institution, fees payment, and hospitals. Now there is a demand for even for tax. I have to pay government tax. You increase to 1 lakh rupees to 5 lakh. That also has been taken. So therefore, the aspirations and the demand and the need for moving the money in a very quick time is always there. So therefore, it is essential that we appreciate that the regulators or the government has to balance. You understand the Jandan movement in 2014. I still remember the kind of efforts the bankers have put in to onboard almost 40 to 50 crore new Jandan customers who are new to the bank, who otherwise were not part of the banking system. 40 to 45 crore were onboarded. How do we bring in? How do we ensure that the systems are operated at a very what you call it, the grassroots level? That is something amazing. Today, in a nook and corner of the country, the banking has reached through what is known as Aadhaar-enabled payment system. A person will have to have Aadhaar and his thumb impression. He can operate his bank account. That has been enabled. But then there we have a 10,000 rupees cash withdrawal limit. Do you want us to give 20,000? There are people who are asking us. But then that is only very limited arrangement to the banking correspondent. So therefore, my point that I'm trying to make is that these digital transaction, which is revolutionary, which is in a way caused, a lot of countries, a lot of geography were envious. The other day I was talking to a senior bureaucrat of American government. He was asking, your Aadhaar is a game changer. This is about 5 years back. Your Aadhaar is a game changer. It is indeed. So, but then the responsibility that we operate, the responsibility that we protect, responsibility that the consumers are, whenever there is a grievance that has been redressed, we always emphasize, or senior management also emphasize that the grievance redressal machinery need to be strengthened so that the trust in the system is protected. When I say grievance, individual grievance, it is not just individual grievance. The general grievance are the systemic grievances, the systemic problem in terms of keeping the ATM up. For instance, many of the ATMs are down. Then we have brought in a regulation downtime. If ATM is down more than 10 hours a month, then they need to pay a penalty to Reserve Bank. So the ATM uptime, downtime is also monitored. Similarly, the servers for doing the NEFT, IMPS, that is also being monitored. How efficiently banks' IT systems are. There is a separate vertical within Reserve Bank to take care of this cyber risk or IT risk, to review. That's very, very important to protect. That's how the system is going on. So therefore, point is that it's all because of the active consumers. It's all because of the expectation of the consumers are increasing. And then therefore, it is our responsibility, the authorities like Reserve Bank or the government and the SEBI and the IRDA, this is what is the responsibility. In fact, if you look at the capital market, again, that's also envious. We are no less than any advanced economy in terms of our, trading. Number of trade that are put in, number of demat account. During Corona alone, I think 2 or 3 years, I was told that something like 2 crore Indians have opened their demat account and then they entered the capital market in their own way. This is true for the capital market. This is true for the insurance. Insurance, we have a separate regulators to take care of the mis-selling, which is often happens world over. Mis-selling the insurance. Suitability and appropriateness is not ensured. And then unfair practices are also, will be there. So therefore, that is also there, highly protected. Then we have a pension fund regulatory authority, a new regulator that has come in to take care of the NPS, the pension funds. So the overall financial sector, which consists of these 4 segments, play a very, very pivotal role in running the economy and bring in prosperity through the deposit and credit system and the investment stock market, and feeding the wherever the investment needs are there. That is something amazing. So therefore, I would like to emphasize that the Reserve Bank's role, insofar as customer protection is concerned, it is not just today's issue; it's age old. If you look at the 60s, where there was no regulation for companies to mobilize deposits, the companies otherwise are not banks, but they were also were accepting deposits. There was no regulation prohibiting them or controlling them. Then there is a company's acceptance of deposit rules came. Then Reserve Bank Act was amended in 60s, mid 60s, to bring in give powers to Reserve Bank to regulate these finance companies. Those of you who are 50s, 60s, you remember the blade companies of Kerala those days. They sprung up. You remember the Peerless, you remember the Sahara. They're all aberration, I would say. But then Reserve Bank could able to regulate and supervise and ensure that they could do only least damage. That is why, again, one of the credit that we should boast of in terms of our ability to address the problem and bring in a reasonable solution. Coming back to the role of Ombudsman, as I said, the internal grievance redressal machinery is being supervised, oversight, monitored by Reserve Bank at the apex level, that is at the bank's headquarters level. Whereas individual grievance redressal, now Reserve Bank has brought in the Banking Ombudsman scheme in 1986. We are almost 30 years now. Every year, something like 3 lakh complaints flow into the Reserve Bank. We have around 22 banking ombudsmen all over India, and there is a banking ombudsman scheme under which the ombudsmen have been empowered to adjudicate the complaints. It's a sort of quasi-judicial and you can say alternate grievance redressal machinery that Reserve Bank has brought in insofar as the regulated institutions of Reserve Bank. That means banks, NBFCs, cooperative banks, and credit bureaus, that is CIBIL, CRIF, and all this where we call credit bureaus, where the credit scores are being dispensed, and urban cooperative banks and apex banks. So the banking ombudsman has a oversight or the jurisdiction insofar as grievance redressal. Typically, the customers having grievance will approach the bank or the institution concerned, and they come to us, and then we obtain comments, and then we dispense the advisories. Typically, we have 60 to 70% of the complaints are maintainable, meaning they are, when I say non-maintainable, for instance, let us say a case where yesterday something has happened and today they have come to ombudsman. We call first resort complaints. We don't entertain. We tell them that please go back to the bank and get an answer, get a reply from them. Or for instance, a person has gone to the consumer forum or to the courts, and then he also comes to the Reserve Bank or ombudsman. Then we say that those which are sub judice or administered or adjudicated by other authorities, there will be multiple roles. That also we avoid. Or for instance, a complaint which has been written by advocate on behalf of the client, that also we call it non-maintainable or is not eligible. Simply because, an advocate, we expect Reserve Bank, because it's manned by Reserve Bank officials, they are experts in their own way in the banking and dispensing, understanding the banking grievances, etc. We do not want our stakeholders, clients, to spend money on advocate. Because the banking ombudsman complains is we call nishulk or shulka rahita. Charges ಏನಿರೋದಿಲ್ಲ. Then we need expeditious disposal and effective results. This is what is assured. So therefore, the banking ombudsman handle complaints, and for that, individuals can approach or rather, file the complaint online. We have a website called https cms.rbi.org.in. You can search on the internet CMS, Complaint Management System of RBI. You will get the link. You can file complaints online. Or you can write an email. Or you can write a letter also. Even postcard people have written, that also we'll act upon, as long as the minimum details are there. So ideally, a complaint will be comprehensive if you give the background story, if you give the paper that have been corresponded, that have been exchanged, that will be easy. All Kannada complaints will necessarily flow into the Bangalore office, and not necessarily English complaints will be handled by Bangalore office, by Karnataka complaint handled by Bangalore, because there is a automated distribution of complaints. Wherever efficiency has to be brought in, then there will be distribution happens. So therefore, a complaint from Karnataka having a bank account in Bombay may be handled by Guwahati Ombudsman. It's possible. Earlier, that was not the case. It was expected that if you have a bank account in Karnataka, you're supposed to file a bank account in Karnataka. But the account is in Karnataka, but the person lives in Bombay or Bangalore or wherever. Delhi. So he was to file Karnataka complaint only. Now that is geography has become history, as they say. So therefore, in Reserve Bank also, it has been very integrated. That means finance company, cooperative banks, and payment system operators and banks all are under one roof now. That is why we call integrated, which came in 2021. It is efficiently working. We always innovate. We also bring in improvements in our standard operating procedure, and we try to meet the expectation of the customers. So I think I have taken almost it's 40 minutes, I suppose. Lakshmi, what is the time that I have? We are supposed to have 8:30. Am I correct?
Correct, Ji.
Yeah. So therefore, I think I'll stop here with or rather a couple of other things that regarding the operation of the banking ombudsman. Banking ombudsman have been delegated with the power or responsibility not only to adjudicate and resolve the complaint, but also compensation. Compensation for the mental agony, inconvenience, the time that is wasted by the customers. There is up to 1 lakh rupees a banking ombudsman give compensation. That is qualitative issues. On the other hand, if the consequential loss because of the deficiency in service, the ombudsman can give an award up to 20 lakh rupees. When I say 20 lakh rupees, for instance, you have a fixed deposit of 1 crore and bank has not given 2 months interest by mistake. That 2 months interest will get it whatever the agreed rate. Apart from that, because the interest rate was given to you delayedly, or the principal was given delayed, for that there is a consequential loss. That is what we call time value of money. What is the value of 1 crore if it is given after 2 months? What is the use? So who will give the 2 months value? We call time value of money. So they will get the time value of money, which is consequential loss. That can go up to 20 lakh rupees. But even if you have 10 crore problem, you can come to us. 100 crore problem, 100 crore deposit is not repaid. Adjudication can be done by ombudsman. But consequential loss, whatever that consequential loss, it is limited to 20 lakh. Basically, the idea is that the large corporates and those who are able to understand, protect themselves, and the stake involved is higher, correct, that we try to discourage the corporates primarily. As long as the problem is small, then no problem. Even if a corporate did not receive the checkbook, a checkbook has been issued but lost, or there is a deficiency, corporates are welcome. There is some problem with the dereliction of duty of an employee, then they can complain. Varieties of things are possible, but we try to address a retail investors, basically retail customers largely. That's how the 20 lakh consequential loss limit has been put in. So that the bigger stakeholders, they have a higher level legal forums are there. They can very well approach, or otherwise they by arbitration, by mutual discussion, that can be settled. In fact, if ombudsman decisions is not palatable, is not appreciated by the complainant, there is also an appellate authority, who is the executive director, who sits in Bombay. So the decisions of the ombudsman can also be appealed to an appellate authority. So one beautiful thing that ombudsmen have the delegated power is that they have the ability to fix the bank or the institution through an award. Award is basically an order that is binding on the regulated institutions. Even regulated institution, also banks, NBFCs also can go on appeal to the same authority. However, if they have to appeal against the ombudsman order, they have to get the approval from the no less than their own chairman and managing director, which is difficult to get actually. So therefore, it will be highest level, it will be decided. Unless the ombudsman make a silly mistake or blatant mistake, otherwise institutions do not go on appeal. At least I have rarely seen institution going on appeal against the ombudsman's award. So therefore, ombudsman is the final word, you can say, that he takes a decision and he is responsible for that. And if he makes a mistake, then it is appealable. And if the appellate authority decision also not satisfied, he can still, the legal forums are always available, such as district and state and national consumer commissions. And of course, court machinery is always there. The problem or the point I try to highlight is that we do not want our banking customers or the regulated entities customers to run around for courts and kacheris. It's a simple and expeditious disposal, effective disposal. One of the advantage of the Reserve Bank being endowed with this banking ombudsman scheme is that Reserve Bank, as I said earlier, they also have embodied with a lot of powers under the Banking Regulation Act. So the Banking Regulation Act is very stringent, very strong act that has been evolved over a period of time. So therefore, under that act also, if such things that is not possible to be resolved by ombudsman, we escalate to the concerned department. If it is foreign exchange, then we have a foreign exchange department. If it is the regulatory aspects, we go to the regulators. If it is supervisory action to be taken, then there is a Department of Supervision which takes care of this. So therefore, a complaint is not just individual complaint to us. Sometimes we can bring in systemic changes also. Recently, just to give an example, here is a complaint which says that, I have paid everything, the credit card dues, but still the bank is reporting to the credit bureaus and my score is affected. When we ask the bank what happened, then the bank comes back and tells us that, look, there is a 52 paise or 42 paise balance was there in this credit card. My system did not ignore that. Rather, that 42 paise was also presented and then there is a bouncing charges. And that 200 and all those things, it has become now 4,800. And that's how I am reporting 4,800 and I am correcting. Then we told them that what is this? We have issued a regulation and Government of India has decided long back. I'm just forgetting 2006 or somewhere even before that every financial transaction should be rounded off to the nearest rupee. It is a 50 paise plus, it should be. That means interest should not be charged or whatever to be charged, it cannot be decimal. So if 42 paise is remaining, they should have rounded off to zero. And you should have been given a clean sheet. Instead of that, that has resulted. This is a big bank, mind you. Somehow they have missed this regulation and we have to give them advisory saying that, look, there is a regulation established, Government of India policy is there and you cannot do 42 paise. Your system should have been strengthened. So please do it. Mind you, since it is a large bank, to change all the systems in respect of all the advances and deposits and whatever the expenses and income that has been rounded off, it calls for a detailed process change and IT system change. Good, they are taking 3-4 months, let them take. But the question is that we bring in relief to such kind of situation also by changing the system. So therefore, the complaint is not just an individual complaint to us. It could be a sort of harbinger of change. That's how we claim. And I think I'll stop here, unless otherwise I have not covered anything. Perhaps I would only love to express my opinion on that. And rest assured that, rather I should disclaimer, this is all my personal opinion, take it that way. And it may not necessarily represent the RBI's views. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We now open the floor for question and answer session. If you have any questions, please type them in the chat box. Our guest speaker will address your queries. So meanwhile, like I got a DM asking to ask a question. Exploited customers when they can complain ombudsman. So like, is there any approach needs to be followed? Like first they need to approach bank framework, then to the ombudsman, or they can directly go to the ombudsman. That is the question they are asking.
Yeah, as I said, it is always essential to get the complaint seen by the concerned institution so that it is expeditious. If they can solve the problem, they will solve it. Certainly. If they cannot solve and it comes to us, mind you, complaint coming to ombudsman is costly to the bank. We have a benchmark for each and every bank, how much complaints they can, flow into our ombudsman. If it crosses the benchmark that we have set for individual banks, we do the cost recovery from them. The cost recovery is cost of handling a complaint could be somewhere around 3,000 to 4,000 rupees. So we recover from the banks. So therefore, there's a disincentive for the banks or the institutions to let go the complaint to the ombudsman. So therefore, they attend. Moreover, the customer should also have should know that there is an internal grievance redressal machinery that should operate and take care. That is first thing. Second is that I will also have the benefit of what bank is saying. So he will give the copy of the bank's reply that he has received, which is not satisfactory to him. What is the point that is being made? So I get both the sides version, and then I'll be easy to make decision immediately. That's the one advantage. Therefore, we always ensure that he goes to the bank. But however, many of the customers do not give the proof that they have gone to the bank. For instance, let us say he comes to us on 28th day or 25th day. Reason being that 30 days is the criteria. We don't just reject the complaint just because it's 25 days. Another 5 दिन में क्या होगा? We take it and process it.
Yes, sir. We have another question. Like if mail received about IT related issues to be addressed for or waiting inquiry.
IT related means income tax or information technology?
No. Doctor, can you please unmute yourself? Dr. Bachegowda.
Yeah, it is income tax related. Some mails are sending.
From the department, official mails?
No, not department.
Then you have the answer. So if it is a bogus mail, ignore. Be careful. Don't click any links from the income tax. That's everywhere. New varieties of ways people are there to hoodwink.
I just forwarded to my advocate. Advocate told same thing. Say that you don't respond or you ignore it, or IT department will never send these notices by mail. They will send always in hard copy. That's what I was told. So thank you so much, sir. Confirmation to me.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir. We have another question. Some OTTs do not allow to retrieve payment information, including credit card number, CVV, even if subscription is cancelled. They keep that information. This is non-transparency. Hope RBI takes a view of this and works on that part.
No. If anybody is doing that the card number is saved, you can please write to us. Under the new regime, which has come for some months now, that no entity should save the card number with them. No way. Yes, the card number cannot be saved. Only we have introduced what is known as a new system where is a tokenization, we call it. So tokenization means, for instance, let's say you have a big bazaar. You are a regular customer in Reliance World or whatever. And when you go and swipe the machine there, okay, or online, or Swiggy for that matter, okay, you have to use the system of tokenization wherein one time you give the card number and the card number gets processed, authenticated, and then it gets registered. But there will be a token given to the Swiggy which links map your card number. Got my point, sir? So every time you want to try to use the card number, you get the OTP. But card number is not with them. Behind the scene, the MasterCard or Visa, whoever, they have mapped that Swiggy, this person has mapped his card to the Swiggy, and therefore the card number in a way saved, but not the card number per se, but the tokens. So that you will get anyway authentication. Without your authentication, payment cannot be automatic. That has been brought in. So if you say, for instance, let's say you have a LinkedIn. You have agreed with the terms and conditions of LinkedIn that unless you cancel, correct, the subscription will continue. But once you cancel, then subscription debit cannot come to your credit card or debit card. That will not happen. Wherever such kind of things happens, please let us know. But read the terms and condition. For instance, you have to cancel 1 week before the due date of the debit. So then because they also require some time, something like that. So conditions will be there. So therefore, based on that, perhaps you can take care of yourself. Otherwise, bank card numbers are not supposed to be saved. Mind you, some of the practices, controls, and that are there in India now is not there in many of the advanced countries. Because locally we require this. Tokenization, of course, is there in many countries. For instance, OTP, second factor authentication, OTP. We have sometimes third factor authentication also if it is a high value, or if you are trying to do some transaction from abroad for the first time, it will ask for one more round of verification. So those are all there. Banks also alert in terms of protecting the customers. Yeah, I think I have Arsha BC is asking closing SB account in active account also bank is charging. I think these charges, Reserve Bank consciously over a period of time has said that we have a principle-based regulation where the cost of the charges should be commensurate with the cost of extending such service. So now you open an account, within 2 months or 3 months you close. So therefore, some banks do have, if you close within 6 months, there is a charge. But however, I have not come across a situation where if it is a 2 years, 3 years old account, they charging for closing the account. I have not come across. But if it is there, if it is reasonable, and that is okay. If it is not reasonable, then the regulatory or supervisory intervention is always there. For instance, we brought in a regulation, sometime years back. Many banks take SMS services. To give SMS services, they were charging something like 100 rupees, 50 rupees, 75 rupees, like that. But some of the customers were not having one transaction, two transactions in a month. For one SMS, the bank costs 1 paisa or 2 paisa. Why should they collect 15 rupees or 50 rupees or 75 rupees for SMS services? So then the regulation came in saying that the SMS charges should be somewhat proportionate. Okay, not the flat rate kind of thing. So that is under always the supervisory and regulatory radar. So recently one of the bank, the system was configured such that the customers were higher rates were collected than the card rate published rate. So they have to reimburse, I think, somewhere around 40 crore or something. So that was found out during the supervisory scrutiny. Then we have another question. As a common customer, we want to ease of business, courtesy by staff. How nationalized banks can improve this compared to other banks? See, the problem is this, that they are nationalized. There is a history. There is a legacy. Okay, these legacy issues are always continuously being addressed by bringing in, market efficiency, in the efficiency in recruitment, efficiency in training, the changing of culture. Even the customer service rating is happening. We have a vertical customer protection department, customer education and protection department, where we do the rating of the banks on their performance in terms of the customer service. And wherever they are below the benchmark, that has been handled at the highest level in the Reserve Bank as well as at the respective banks. And a lot of disclosures also is happening these days, that banks have to disclose how many number of complaints that they have received, so that public can scrutiny. For instance, they will compare Bank of Baroda with Bank of India. Who is having more complaints? They have to disclose in their annual report. So that there is a market pressure also, public pressure is there on them to control the complaints. As I said, the efforts are on. I'm not saying that all is well with the banks, all is well with the nationalized banks or private sector bank. There are always pockets of weaknesses that are there. Question is that how efficiently the regulators, supervisors, and also the public are alert. Moreover, how the organization like ABGP can guide them in terms of handling these kind of grievances, against the individuals or against the system. Then we have the question, most of the banks do not keep proper passbook printing machines. Many times the printer ribbons not replaced. This will create confusion. How much balance is there? See, the thing is that these passbook printers have come in the interest of their own employees and their own system. Otherwise, people will come to the counter and asking for a printer. If the ribbon is not there, machine is not there, then this is what the system where it is in their interest to mechanize, automate. That's what banks are doing. If you ask me, I don't go to the bank, not because I'm in Reserve Bank, or it's your experience also. You don't go to the bank at all, to the branch. Because most of it happens on digital mode, and then hardly we need to go. But nevertheless, there are people who go for traditional method of running their finance, and therefore, if there is a queue in the bank, if their ATM is not working, then there will be long queue, and they'll get the blame. The branch manager has to face the music. If printer is not working, then people will come and write complaint. So therefore, it is in the interest of the banks that they do it properly. But here, their cases could be there. But I don't know, if it's proper to say that, many times the printer ribbons not replaced only. Okay. And most of the banks do not keep proper passbook printing. Most, I don't know whether it's a very relative term. What is meaning of most, another thing. But be as it may, but point is well taken, as it is true that sometimes the technology, the maintenance of the technology is not taken care. Maybe they are outsourced or something, but then it is essential that they need to maintain. Then what is the minimum amount for which we can approach Ombudsman? There is no minimum amount. For you, it may be 1 rupee, but the system, we always look at, there are 100 crore, let us say there are 80 crore accounts are there, 90 crore accounts are there. In SBI, in Bank of Baroda, for instance, there is they may have some 8 to 9 crore accounts. It's not a question of 1 rupee to you, but it is up to me. This 1 rupee may have a systemic issue. For instance, I will give an example. This bank, for instance, where the forex cards are there. Forex card people are getting now. So after issuance of usage of dollars, and when they return, there may be only balance of $1, $2, $1.50 type kind of thing balances are there. It so happened that after 3 years or 4 years, bank had a policy to transfer to their profit loss account. Then we objected. We said that the money doesn't belong to you. Okay. So under the Depositor Education Awareness Fund has been created. It should go to ideally to the DAF fund. And even if the customer comes back after 10 years and asks for $1.50, you should be able to get back to RBI and get the $1.50 equivalent rupees and then give it to the customer. So therefore, there is no minimum amount for which you can approach. And for you, question is that for 2 rupees, 5 rupees, people have patience. If you have patience, it may bring in big change also. Who knows? So therefore, no minimum amount has been kept. So they are most welcome, especially if it is a nature of a systemic issue. Minimum SB account balance to be reduced to 3,000 rupees. Why? We have a zero balance account. Why 3,000 rupees? The point is this, that there are product differentiations are there. That is the way you look at, Lux Sabun and Lifebuoy Sabun. Same is the case with the SB account of Canara Bank, where they give a lot of facilities, in some recently launched, schemes for ladies and others. The minimum balance is 5,000, 6,000, something like that they put in. So therefore, they recover some of the cost through the minimum balance. That is one way. Otherwise, if you want a simple bank account, We call this as a basic savings bank deposit account, BSBD we call. That is a zero balance, and you get a debit card and you get a passbook. Checkbook is not there. So only debit card. You can operate that. It's sufficient. Zero balance account is also there. There are banks which is 1,000 rupees balance. Okay, but you may say that balance to be reduced to 3,000. Then the benefits accruing to that also will come down. No, I have a 10,000 rupees balance account in HDFC, but I enjoy certain benefits also. So that's how. Yes, sir. How does the Ombudsman incorporate consumer feedback into improving banking services? So this consumer feedback, we have a feedback channel where every Ombudsman writes a letter to his deputy governor every quarter. Okay, we have a feedback channel, and that is a necessary. We always should write. Apart from that, we have a mandate to escalate as and when we notice. It is escalated. There are many classic cases where ombudsmen have escalated, and because of which, sometimes, the action has been initiated at the highest level and banks are punished or enforced. I have many cases which I may not be, due to time constraint, I may not be able to share. But otherwise, the feedback channel is always there. That's how the, customer service can be improved. Why private companies are deciding CIBIL score? Why not be it under government control? Well, see, the question is this, that there are capacity that's already available. CIBIL is a US-based company originally, Dun and Bradstreet, and very, they brought in. And it is not that the credit bureau's type, public registry initiative is also there in the government mind. The public registry may come in a day, in future. So therefore, to start with, they are the private. It's like private banks. There is a Credit Information Companies Act. Parliament has passed Act and given RBI responsibility to regulate, supervise. Credit Information Companies also is being supervised. Credit Information Company regulation has been framed in such a way that now, in case Credit Information Company do not rectify or attend to the complaint within 7 days, per day penalty is 100 rupees. So that is a regulation that we brought in because we noticed that there are quite a bit of complaints happening in credit bureau space. And therefore, that regulation come in that if they don't attend to your complaint within 7 days, then 8 day onwards, they have to pay 100 rupees per day to the party. That's automated. There is no question of ombudsman. Ombudsman only say that I apply this rule and then you pay. That's what. And many banks and NBFC credit bureaus are indeed paying. And many credit bureaus actually have strengthened their grievance redressal because of this regulation alone, which kicked in April 26, 2024. Many customers are concerned that banks are not adequately protecting sensitive personal information collected for credit services. This has led to scammers exploiting this data to deceive and defraud customers. How can customers effectively raise their voices to provide feedback to ensure these issues are thoroughly investigated and addressed? Additionally, does the Ombudsman help customers in such cases? Certainly. For instance, we get a complaint sometimes, especially small time NBFCs where governance standards are low. They would have when you install the mobile app, they do take the contact address list. They access to the contacts, and the allegation is sometimes we receive complaint receives that my contacts have also been given. They were contacted by this particular entity, which they should not have done, to put pressure on me for recovery. Then we will come down heavily and impose penalty on them that you are not supposed to. You are supposed to contact only the contact number and the alternate number that has been given, if at all it's given. Otherwise, he has no business to contact the employer, no business to contact friends, relatives. That is something, it is seriously looked into. Insofar as ensuring that the data is not breached, data is not stolen. One is consciously sharing the data. Second is that, protecting the data from the hackers. That hackers protection and other things, there is a separate, vertical within the Reserve Bank, which is endowed with the experts. And we have set up a subsidiary also to take care of these kind of cyber incidents and reporting framework. and addressing the situation and bring in control mechanism, that is working fine. The Reserve Bank would like to assure that these data protection is at most important. You would have seen some time back, I think there was a problem with the master visa, I don't remember. They are not localizing the data. Our instruction was that you have to localize the data. That means all the data should be retained in the servers. For instance, if you look at Germany, you want to run a bank in Germany, they are the one very strict data regulation. For instance, our Indian banks in Germany have to have their own servers in Germany. So their data, personal data cannot be shared even with their head office. Very strict regimes are there. So India also is evolving. And especially the data protection bill or the act that has come in, only it's a matter of time that the regulation, once it is framed, you can have it. It's applicable to banks, MDFC, everybody. The data protection legislation has already been passed. Hopefully, that should be seeing the light of the day through the regulation. Once that happens, wherever there are weaknesses are there, the compromise of the data or the selling of the data, that is something that will be addressed through that legislation. I am sure I've heard about that. I've read about that law. It's going to make a big difference to all of us, we as a consumers and the individuals in India. It has been learned that banking ombudsmen mostly support their own banks and give less importance to customers' problem issues. Is it really so? Not at all. Not at all. We have no conflict of interest. We don't get incentive from the banks. We are not appointed by banks. I forgot to mention, Reserve Bank has also asked banks and large NBFCs to appoint what is known as internal ombudsman. The internal ombudsman is typically a seasoned banker, maybe retired kind of thing, DGM or GMs. I think GMs and above are eligible to be appointed as internal ombudsman. Before coming to the ombudsman, every complaint that is rejected by the bankers has to be seen by the internal ombudsman. Please remember. The internal ombudsman has to give an initial verdict to the loan banker. Those internal ombudsmen are appointed by the banks. They pay the salary. But our regulation is that they should be appointed for 3 years and they cannot be removed. That job guarantee has been given. To that extent, we go saying that internal ombudsman machinery has to be strengthened and banks should not throw them with the internal ombudsman who are not friendly with them. Therefore, we have strengthened the internal ombudsman mechanism also. And forget about RBI ombudsman cozying up with the banks. We have no interest except that bringing the balance, bringing the adjudication, and therefore, at least I have not heard such kind of things from the customers saying that you are taking the side of a bank. We give a logic, we give a reason, we give a reasoned order whenever we take decision. So therefore, rest assured, sir, that if at all, if there is any iota of doubt, that is not true. And in fact, Reserve Bank, we are sufficiently taken care in terms of delegating the powers, in terms of independence. Even I cannot seek any opinion from my senior colleagues how to handle. They will, department-wise, officially, the bureaucracy do not permit me to consult anybody at senior level. They will not give any opinion. You are the ombudsman, you take decision. If your decision goes wrong, there is an appellate mechanism. That is the thinking, and I cannot seek any written guidance from my seniors wherever I have doubt. I got to be deciding. I will have to decide, and that which will be contested by the public through the appeal mechanism. And then if I lose the appeal, then that's my loss of face, and therefore we will be careful. That much we can assure you. Then.
Sir, we have Prasanna Ji who has raised his hand.
Prasanna Ji, go ahead.
Sir, namaste. Thank you for such a wonderful presentation, and it was very helpful for us. I have a small question. For international transactions, especially for subscription of OTTs, OTP is not mandatory, I believe, for online transactions, especially for autopay. And some OTTs do not allow also to take back our payment information. Even if I want to take out my payment information, delete it, they don't allow me. I can only change it to another credit card or debit card information, including CVV, but I cannot retrieve or I cannot delete that information. So what is the security for me regarding this? Thank you.
That's right. This contract is between an Indian and an international entity, which is not present in India. For their legal jurisdiction also, if you read the terms and condition, they will put it as a New York, for instance, I suppose. Okay, so therefore, that is not within the RBI's control insofar as the international entities. For instance, Amazon.in, I can say, yes, they come to the Indian network. Whereas Amazon.com, if you pay, if you subscribe anything, naturally the terms and conditions that governing, not that US is free, they also have a regulation protecting the customers. But there must be some condition where you would have signed up for 12 months, which is non-cancelable. Otherwise, I don't think anybody can take away your right to discontinue some services. That's not fair. You cannot be made to act as a bonded for lifelong or for unreasonably long period. I don't think that is something permitted. Maybe you should read the terms and condition of your contract with them, and what does exactly it says. It may say that minimum 12 months. If that is the case, then they may not perhaps permit you. Only you can change the method of payment or another card. That's my guess. I am not sure. But if there is any individual entity involving in India, such kind of unfair trade practices are there that can be addressed, provided it is a financial entity. If a non-financial entity making you sign up something which is unfair, against whom I don't have jurisdiction, perhaps it will be, I am constrained in attending to such kind of disputes. Only dispute between you and the financial entity, that is something that we can address. I hope I clarified.
Yes, sir. In this case, what I had to do was I had to give another payment information, a new credit card for that matter. I took up, and then I gave the same information to them, and then I blocked the card so that they should not be using it.
Yeah, that is another way of blocking the card actually. But then that is inconvenience, reissuance of the card, and you would have given the card number in many places through the tokenization and other thing. Yeah, that is something we need to find innovative ways to address that kind of unfair practices.
So, sir, we have another question like how can the process of submitting and accepting life certificates for pensioners be streamlined to ensure timely acceptance, especially when managed by banks in different states? What support can Ombudsman provide to pensioners facing delays to stop pensions due to submission issues?
Yeah, now I think the Jeevan Praman, Jeevan Praman portal through which you can file complaints. At least in Reserve Bank, our employees file through Jeevan Praman. Our pension system recognizes that and then accept the Jeevan Praman. I'm really not sure. I have not seen any complaint also that banks have not implemented the Jeevan Praman. Jeevan Praman, I think still it is evolving. I think government, central government is already, I think, stabilized, I suppose, because it's there for some years now. So Jeevan Praman portal through which you can do, file the remotely. Okay, but I'm not even sure that any statutory instruction by the central or state government that banks should adopt Jeevan Praman mandatorily. If anything is there, if I come across such kind of complaint, and first thing I'll do is that what is the mandatory instruction to the banks, which are central pension processing centers, which are there in every bank, which processes the central as well as state government pension. If there any government instructions are there, and if the banks have not adopted, rest assured that we can ensure that they adopt. And that is a deficiency in service.
No, online being accepted.
Yeah, so Dr. Bachagada is saying that it is being accepted. So therefore, I think you should try, and if it is, especially if instruction is there, then banks have to adopt it, sooner.
Yeah, sir, we have another. Harshaji, can you please unmute yourself and ask your question?
Sir, very good evening, myself Doctor, and very insightful information. I just want to check. See, daily we use a lot of applications in mobile. See, we are not able to find where and all our bank account is linked. See, the thing is that some apps they are asking OTP, some are directly deducting from account. Like, see, I go to ICICI, then it is not asking CVV or OTP also. Directly it is deducting to the respective registered mobile number or account number. So just want to check, is any platform from the RBI side, which are the apps we are linked on, what are the accounts we are linked Just can you please highlight on this?
Yes,
Is
this
there
is
any
one
centralized
problem.
tool?
The first level of filtering happens at the Play Store. I remember Google has their own standards of onboarding the apps. So that is first filter. Second filter, if I remember correctly, we had published a list of apps which are suspected. Where according to us, one has to be careful. I'm not sure. I stand corrected if I remember, publishing such list where people have to be alert in terms of using such apps. But then these apps are, reincarnate with the different names and design styles and all those things. First is that eternal vigilance. One has to be vigilant. That is what is essential. Even banks, for instance, they themselves encourage that don't use third-party apps. Instead use my own mobile app, or at least Beam, which has been given by NPCI. That would be fair enough to use the UPI. But rest assured that the system is such that for any onboarding, there are standard operating procedures to operate the UPI kind of transactions, or registering an IMPS or mobile banking. For instance, the standard for mobile banking has to be licensed of the individual banks. So then there is a detailed, requirements to apply for mobile banking license.
Yes,
So
sir.
if
Yeah, sir. We were told M Kavach 2 can be so that we can find out what are the dangerous apps which cannot be used. Number one. Secondly, M Aadhaar can be downloaded and enable or disable our thumb impression so that
correct,
nobody can cheat our thumb impression, etc.
that is true. That is true.
Yeah, so Masa, we are running out of time. So, we extend a heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Balu Kenchappa for his time, for sharing his valuable insights with us today. Your expertise and guidance on consumer awareness in the financial sector have been incredibly enlightening and beneficial to us. Also, there were few issues raised by ABGP and solved by RBI Ombudsman. We really appreciate your support and guidance as well. Thank you, Doctor, for your contribution to this important discussion. I would like to reiterate to all the participants to support the cause of ABGP by taking the ABGP yearly membership. The membership link has been provided in the chat section. Your support is greatly appreciated, and it will help us continue our efforts in promoting consumer rights and awareness. Thank you all for your commitment and participation. I have a short note for tomorrow's session. We are pleased to invite you all to join us for the enlightening session organized by ABGP Karnataka Mahila Jagran Ayam. The topic for tomorrow's discussion is Lajja Gauri Abhiyan, which focuses on awareness about pregnancy issues, natural childbirth, and maternity mortality. The guest speaker would be Dr. Ashok Kale, MBBS MD. He's an ex-professor and ABGP founder member. We look forward to your participation in this important discussion that aims to educate and raise awareness about critical health related to pregnancy and maternity health. Now, I would like to invite Prahlad ji to deliver the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Pavanji. Good evening, all the participants, for joining today's wonderful event. I am Prahlad Kulkarni from Hubli ABGP. Take this privilege to deliver a vote of thanks today. I would like to thank our esteemed guest, Dr. Balu Kenchappa sir, for taking this session on customer awareness in the field of financial sector. And very much amazed to know that 1400 crore transaction digitally is actually an amazing this thing, because we keep selling that 130 crore is the population, and out of which 1400 crore transaction per day. I think it's really this has changed the entire this thing only, the financial sector this thing only. where once upon a time we used to go and stand in the queue to withdraw maybe 100 rupees during our good old days. Now, no, any amount of transaction can be done. This is one of the wonderful things what we are seeing. And on the occasion of Grahak Jagarana Paakshika, I would like to thank Balu sir for today's volunteered as today's speaker, and other associates and distinguished participants for giving the insight and for participating in the event despite of his busy schedule. So I would like to thank and for giving Balu sir giving lot of clarity and details about the banking sector. And some inputs we were not aware also, like 1400 crore transaction and 220 crore scheduled banks have a deposit. Means the banks are filthy rich in today's situation, because everything is happening online, and systematic things are happening. So we are very amazed to know all these important information, sir. And I would like to thank Mr. Pawan Kulkarni and all the members of the ADGP for their unconditional support in arranging such kind of wonderful programs and events, and all the coordinates and all the karyakartas of ABGP. Thank you so much, sir. And we'll certainly we'll keep calling you for some more insights about the financial sector, because I think this 1 hour or 1 hour 15 minutes, maybe it was very short to elaborate the things. So thank you so much, sir. Thank you once again. Thank you so much, sir. And thank you all the parts. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Praladji, for concluding our session with your kind words. Now we conclude the session with Shanti Mantra. I will request Sri Lakshmi ji to take the Shanti Mantra.
सर्वे भवन्तु सुखिनः, सर्वे सन्तु निरामया, सर्वे भद्राणि पश्यन्तु, मा कश्चित् दुःखभाग् भवेत्। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। रात्रि।
Thank you all. Shubhratri.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Jai Grahak.